and welcome to Number Crunch. Today we are tackling KCSE 2016 Paper 1 Section 1. Starting with question 1. Without using a calculator, evaluate -2 into 5 plus 3 minus 9 divided by 3 plus 5, all of it divided by -3 times -5 plus -2 times 4. So that's the expression. Then we are going to apply BODMAS, which explains the order of operations in an expression. So using BODMAS, the first set of operations that we should tackle is the brackets. And in brackets, we only have one bracket in our expression, which is 5 plus 3. And 5 plus 3 results to 8. So applying that, we have -2 times 8 minus 9 divided by 3 plus 5, all of it divided by -3 times -5 plus -2 times 4. The next set is off. We have nothing that is in any order, either exponents, square roots. So we move to the next set, which is division. We have a -9 divided by 3. And -9 divided by 3 is -3. So our expression becomes -2 times 8 minus 3 plus 5, all of it divided by -3 times -5 plus -2 times 4. The next set is multiplication. We have -2 times 8 in the numerator, and -2 times 8 will give us -16, because a negative number times a positive number results to a negative number. Then we have in the denominator, we have -3 times -5, which is a negative times a negative. It results into a positive number. So -3 times -5 will give us 15. And we have -2 times 4, that will give us -8. So our new expression becomes -16 minus 3 plus 5 divided by 15 plus -8. Then the next set of operations is addition. We have a -3 plus 5 and 15 plus -8. So -3 plus 5 will result to +2. Then 15 plus -8 will result to 15 minus 8. So it becomes -16 plus 2 divided by 15 minus 8. And the last set is subtraction. We have -16 plus 2, that gives us -14, and 15 minus 8, which gives us 7. So the new expression becomes -14 divided by 7. And -14 divided by 7 is -2. So that is how you evaluate without using a calculator. Question 2. Simplify p squared plus 2p cubed plus q squared divided by p cubed minus pq squared plus p squared cubed minus q cubed. So that's the expression. The first step is to factorize the numerator, and to do that we are going to use an algebraic identity or formula such that if you have a plus b squared, it's equals to a squared plus 2ab plus b squared, and that is similar to what we have in our numerator. Therefore our numerator will become p plus q squared divided by what we had in the denominator. The second step is to factorize the denominator by pairing two values. So the first set, the common factor is p, and in the second set the common factor is q. So we shall have p plus q squared divided by p into p squared minus q plus q into p squared minus q squared. So that you combine those variables and you have p plus q squared divided by p plus q into p squared minus q squared. And since we have p plus q both in the numerator and in the denominator, they cancel out and we are left with p plus q divided by p squared minus q squared. Then the next step, we need to use another identity, and the identity is a squared minus b squared is equals to a plus b into a minus b. Therefore, our equation will be p plus q over p plus q into p minus q. Then p plus q is also common in the numerator and in the denominator, so they cancel out and we are left with 1 over p minus q. So that is the simplified version of the expression we have been given. Question 3. The external length, width and height of an open rectangular container are 41 centimeters, 21 centimeters and 15.5 centimeters respectively. The thickness of the materials making the container is 5 millimeters. If the container has 8 liters of water, calculate the internal height above the water level. So using the information, let this be a representation of our container, not drawn to scale. We have the length 41 centimeters, width 21 centimeters, and height 15.5 centimeters. Then we've been told that the container is open with a thickness of 5 millimeters. But since our container has the dimensions in centimeters, we are going to convert the thickness into centimeters as well. And we know that 10 millimeters is equals to 1 centimeter. Therefore, we need to find out what 5 millimeters is. We cross multiply, it gives us 0.5 centimeters. Therefore, the inner dimensions of the container, since the container is open, so the thickness will affect both sides of the length, both sides of the width, but only one side of the height. And so for the length, it will be 41 minus twice the thickness, giving us 40 centimeters. For the width, the same thing, 21 minus twice the thickness, giving us 20 centimeters. And for the height, it will only affect one side, therefore we have 15 centimeters. Then, since our interest is in the height above the water level, we shall let the inner height of the water level be x and the inner height above the water level be y. And since the inner height is 15 centimeters, therefore x plus y is equals to 15 centimeters. Then we've been told that the water content is 8 liters. So we first convert the liters into cubic centimeters, and 1 liter is equals to 1000 cubic centimeters. So what will 8 liters be? We cross multiply and obtain is 8000 cubic centimeters. Then using this, we find the value of x, since the volume is length times width times height. That is the formula of the volume of a cuboid. Then we substitute the values. We have the volume is 8000, the length is 40, the width is 20, and the height is x, that is the height of the water. So 8000 is equals to 800x. We divide both sides by 800, and therefore our x is 10 centimeters. Then remember we had said that x plus y is equals to 15, and we've obtained that x is 10. So we subtract both sides. We subtract 10 from both sides to remain with y, and the y is 5 centimeters. Therefore, that means the inner height above the water level is 5 centimeters. Question 4. The figure below shows a net of a solid. Measurements are in centimeters. We have the net. Below is a part of the sketch of the solid whose net is shown above. Complete the sketch of the solid showing the hidden edges with broken lines. And so, here is the net, and this is part of the solid. And so the first thing we have to note is there will be fold lines on the net, which I have indicated using the dotted lines. Then we in order to know how the solid will look like, I'm going to illustrate how the edges are formed. And so the first edge is formed by the two edges, and hence it's 3 units long. We have the second edge is formed by one edge on the net, and hence it's 4 units long. And the third edge is formed by two edges from the net, and hence it's 5 units long. And we have the fourth edge that we have been given, and this edge is formed by the dotted lines that we introduced, one of the dotted lines, and hence it's 3 units long. Then the rest of the solid will be, we have that edge formed by the two edges, we have another edge formed by two of the corner edges, we have the hidden edges, that is one, which is formed by two edges from the net. We have another one which is 4 units long, formed by that edge, and we have the last one, which is the fold line that we had. And that is how you form a solid from a net. Question 5. Given that OA is equals to 2i plus 3j and OB is equals to 3i minus 2j, find the magnitude of AB to one decimal place. So we've been told that OA is 2i plus 3j and OB is equals to 3i minus 2j. So the first step is to find what AB is, and AB can be OB minus OA or OA minus OB, depending on how you want to work it out, since we've been asked to find the magnitude. So if we go the OB minus OA way, we shall have 3i minus 2j minus 2i plus 3j. We open the brackets, we have 3i minus 2j minus 2i minus 3j, which is equals to I minus 5j. So that is the value of AB. Then now to find the magnitude is, we take the figures, we square them, then we find the square root. So it will be 1 squared plus negative 5 squared, then we find the square root of it all, and the figure is 26. The root of 26 is 5.0990, but remember we had been told to give our answer correct to one decimal place, so it's approximately 5.1 to one decimal place, and you have to indicate that it is to one decimal place. Question 6. A bus traveling at an average speed of 63 kilometers per hour left a station at 8:15 a.m. A car later left the same station at 9 a.m. and caught up with the bus at 10:45 a.m. Find the average speed of the car. So we need to obtain the average speed of the car, and we've been told that the bus left at 8:15 a.m. and the car caught up at 10:45 a.m. and therefore the time taken by the bus will be 10:45 minus 8:15, which is 2 hours 30 minutes or 2.5 hours. Then we have been told that the bus was traveling at a speed of 63 kilometers per hour. Therefore we need to obtain the distance traveled, and we know that the formula of the distance is speed times time. Therefore it will be 63 times 2.5, giving us 157.5 kilometers. So it means by the time the car was catching up with the bus had traveled a distance of 157.5 kilometers. So for the car, we've been told that it departed at 9 a.m. and it caught up with the bus at 10:45 a.m. Therefore the time taken was 10:45 minus 9, which is 1 hour 45 minutes or 1.75 hours. Then from what we have calculated, we know that the distance traveled was 157.5 kilometers. Therefore to obtain the time, the formula of time is distance over speed. Therefore, the speed will be 157.5 divided by 1.75. Use your calculator to compute this, and you obtain that the average speed of the car was 90 kilometers per hour. Question 7. Given that x is an acute angle and cos x is equal to 2 over 5 root 5, find, without using mathematical tables or a calculator, tan 90 minus x degrees. So from this question, we know that x is an acute angle and cos x is equal to 2 over 5 root 5. Then we need to remember the trigonometric identities, normally abbreviated as SOHCAHTOA. And from this, we know that cos theta is equal to adjacent over hypotenuse. And so, since we know that cos x is 2 over 5 root 5, it means that our adjacent is 2 root 5 and the hypotenuse is 5. And so, supposing this is our triangle that we are using, and that is our angle x, which is an acute angle, the adjacent will be 2 root 5, and the hypotenuse is 5. Then to get the length of the third side of the triangle, we use the Pythagoras theorem. And in the Pythagoras theorem, we know that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared being the hypotenuse. And so replacing the figures, we have 2 root 5 squared plus b squared is equal to 5 squared. 2 root 5 squared gives us 20, so 20 plus b squared is equal to 25. We subtract 20 on both sides, and we are left with b squared is equal to 5. And so b will be root 5. So in our triangle, the third side is root 5. Then if we had x, the opposite angle will be 90 minus x. And we've been asked to find tan 90 minus x degrees. And from our trigonometric identities, we know that tan theta being any angle, is equal to opposite over adjacent. And in relation to angle 90 minus x, we have our opposite will be 2 root 5 and our adjacent is root 5. So we have 2 root 5 over root 5. The root 5 cancels out and we are left with 2. Therefore, tan 90 minus x degrees is equal to 2 if cos x is equal to 2 over 5 root 5. Question 8. Without using mathematical tables or a calculator, evaluate 27 raised to 2 over 3 times 81 over 16 raised to negative a quarter. We have the question as 27 2 over 3 times 81 over 16 raised to power negative a quarter. So the first step is to factorize, and we know that 27 is 3 cubed. 81 is 3 raised to power 4 and 16 is 2 raised to power 4. So we shall have 3 cubed raised to 2 over 3 times 3 raised to 4 over 2 raised to 4 raised to negative a quarter. Then remember the rules of indices. If you have a power inside a bracket raised to another power, you are allowed to multiply the powers. So we shall have 3 raised to power 3 raised to 2 over 3. We multiply 3 times 2 over 3 and we are left with 2. Then for the 4 and negative a quarter, you multiply and you are left with negative 1. So we shall have 3 raised to 2 times 3 raised to power negative 1 over 2 raised to power negative 1. Remember, where you have powers, you have to multiply a power outside a fraction. You have to multiply both the numerator and the denominator. Then when you have negative 1 as the power, that is equal to its reciprocal. So in this case, we have 3 raised to power negative 1. It can be rewritten as 1 over 3. Then we have the 2 as a denominator. raised to power negative 1. That is similar to 1 over 2 raised to power negative 1. And so that will give us 2 over 1. So if you rewrite that as a denominator, we shall have 3 squared times 2 over 3, since both are raised to power negative 1. And then we simplify, we have 3 squared times 2 over 3. The 3, as the denominator in 3 cancels out with 1 of the 3 in 3 squared, and so we are left with 3 times 2, and 3 times 2 gives us 6. So that is how you evaluate a question with powers without using a calculator or mathematical tables. Question 9. A minor arc subtends an angle 105 degrees at the center of the circle. If the radius of the circle is 8.4 centimeters, find the length of the major arc and take phi as 22 over 7. So we've been told that the minor arc subtends, an angle subtended by the minor arc is 105 degrees, and therefore the angle subtended by the major arc will be the total value of the angles in a circle, which is 360 degrees minus 105 degrees, and that gives us 255 degrees. So the angle subtended by the major arc will be 255 degrees. Then we've been asked to find the length of the major arc, and so the length of the major arc will be the proportion of the angle subtended by the arc times the formula of getting the circumference of a circle, which is 2 pi r, since in this case we've been given the radius. So that will be 255 degrees over 360 degrees, which is the sum of the angles in a circle, times 2 pi r. We substitute, we have 255 degrees over 360 degrees times 2 times 22 over 7 times 8.4, which is the radius of the circle. And using your calculator, you obtain that the length of the major arc is 7.4 centimeters. Question 10. The gradient of the tangent to the curve y is equals to ax cubed plus bx at the point 1, 1 is negative 5. Calculate the values of a and b. So we know that the equation of the curve is y is equals to ax cubed plus bx, and the gradient of the tangent at point 1, 1 is negative 5. So one thing we need to note is that the gradient of the tangent is equals to the same as the gradient of the curve at that point. Therefore, the gradient of the curve will be negative 5 as well at point 1, 1. And we have our equation as y is equals to ax cubed plus bx. So using the point 1, 1, we are going to replace x and y with 1. So we shall have 1 is equals to a into 1 cubed plus b into 1. And that gives us 1 is equals to a plus b. And to make a the subject of the formula, we are going to subtract b from both sides. So we have 1 minus b is equals to a plus b minus b. So we have a is equals to a minus b. We put that equation, we mark that equation. Then the next step, we need to differentiate our equation of the curve, since the differentiation of a curve is equals to its gradient. And so the differentiation of y is equals to ax cubed plus bx will be 3ax squared plus b. If you need help in differentiation, just leave a comment below. And so we have said that the differentiation is equal to the gradient. Therefore, since we know that our gradient of the curve is negative 5, that implies that 3ax squared plus b is equals to negative 5. And so we still use the point 1, 1 since the gradient is at point 1, 1. So we are going to replace x with 1. Since we don't have y in this case, we won't use it. So we have 3a into 1 squared plus b is equal to negative 5. So that gives us 3a plus b is equals to -5. Remember the equation we had obtained where a was 1 minus b, sorry. So we are going to replace a with 1 minus b. So we have 3 into 1 minus b plus b is equals to -5. So that is 3, opening the bracket, we have 3 minus 3b plus b is equals to -5. We put the like terms together, we shall have 3 minus 2b is equals to -5. To remain with b on one side, we have to subtract 3 on both sides. So we have 3 minus 3 minus 2b is equals to -5 minus 3. And we are left with minus 2b is equals to -8. Then to remain with b, we have to divide -2 on both sides. So we have our b is equals to 4. Then remember a is equals to 1 minus b. Since we have obtained the value of b, so a will be 1 minus 4. And therefore our a is -3. So the values that we were looking for, since we've been asked to find the values of a and b, is -3 and 4. Question 11. A line with gradient of -3 passes through the points 3k and k8. Find the value of k and hence express the equation of the line in the form ax plus by is equals to c, where a, b, and c are constants. So we've been the gradient is -3 and the line passes through the points 3k and k8. So the first step is to find the value of k. And to obtain the value of k, we know that the gradient of a line is obtained by changing y over changing x. So it means that -3 will be y2, which is 8, minus y1, which is k, over x2, which is k, minus x1, which is 3. So we cross multiply, we obtain that -3 into k minus 3 is equals to 8 minus k. Opening the brackets, we have -3k plus 9 is equals to 8 minus k. Then we put the like terms together. So to move k to the left hand side, we add k on both sides. We shall have -3k plus k plus 9 is equal to 8 minus k plus k. That leaves us with -2k plus 9 is equals to 8. Then we subtract 9 on both sides. We have -2k plus 9 minus 9 is equals to 8 minus 9. So -2k is equals to -1. Then we divide both sides by -2 to remain with k, and therefore k is equals to 1 over 2. So we have obtained k as 1 over 2. So the next step is to find the equation of the line in the form ax plus by is equals to c. So to obtain the equation of that line, we are going to use any of the points. We can either use the point 3k or k8. In our case, we are going to use the first point, 3k, and our k is now 1 over 2. And so the next step, we know that gradient is change in y over change in x. We know the value of the gradient is -3 is equals to, now instead of having y2 as the second point, we are going to use y minus our y1, which is 1 over 2, over x2, which we are going to use as k, minus 3, which is our x1. We cross multiply, we have -3 into x minus 3 is equals to y minus a half. So opening the bracket, we have -3x plus 9 is equals to y minus 1 over 2. Then remember the equation needs to be in the form of ax plus by. So it means we have to move y to the left hand side. So we are going to subtract y on both sides of the equation. So we have -3x minus y plus 9 is equals to y minus 1 over 2. And that gives us -3x minus y plus 9 is equals to -1/2. Then we move 9 to the right hand side. So we subtract 9 on both sides. we have negative 3x minus y plus 9 minus 9 is equals to negative a half minus 9. Therefore, we shall have negative 3x minus y is equals to negative 9 and a half. So that is the equation of the line in the form ax plus by is equals to c. Question 12. Points L and M are equidistant from another point K. The bearing of L from K is 330 degrees. The bearing of M from K is 220 degrees. Calculate the bearing of M from L. So first, a graphical representation of the information we've been given. The first step, we've been told that L and M are equidistant from K. Hence the marks, the small marks. Then we have the bearing of L from K is equals to 330 degrees, and the bearing of M from K is 220 degrees. So the first step, we need to obtain the bearing of K from L, and the bearing of K from L will be the bearing of L from K minus 180 degrees. The reason we are subtracting 180 degrees is because the bearing of L from K is greater than 180 degrees. If it would have been less than 180 degrees, we would have added 180 degrees to obtain that bearing. So we have 330 degrees minus 180 degrees, giving us 150 degrees. Then the next step, we need to obtain angle LKM, and angle LKM will be the bearing of L from K minus the bearing of M from K. So the difference gives us the angle LKM. And substituting the figures, we have 330 degrees minus 220 degrees, giving us 110 degrees. Then remember that LK is equals to MK, since we've been told they are equidistant, and therefore they form a triangle LKM, which is an isosceles triangle. And so since we have an isosceles triangle, it means that to obtain angle MLK, we need to subtract 180 degrees minus angle LKM divided by 2, since it's isosceles. And that gives us 35 degrees. So remember, we have obtained the bearing of the bearing of L from K as 150 degrees and angle MLK as 35 degrees. So therefore, to obtain the bearing of M from L, it will just be an addition of the bearing of L from K plus angle MLK. And that is 150 degrees plus 35 degrees, giving us 185 degrees. If you need more help in calculating bearing, just leave a comment below. We shall be sure to tackle more examples. Question 13. In this question, mathematical tables should not be used. A Kenyan bank buys and sells foreign currency as shown below. So we have the buying rate and the selling rate in Kenya shillings. Then a tourist arrived in Kenya with 105,000 Hong Kong dollars and changed the whole amount to Kenya shillings. While in Kenya, she spent 403,879 and changed the balance to South African rands before leaving for South Africa. Calculate the amount in South African rand that she received. So what we need to find is the amount that was left in South African rands. So the first step, in relation to the bank, we have the rate. They buy the Hong Kong dollars at 9.74 and sell at 9.77, and they buy the South African rand at 12.03 and sell at 12.11. So the tourist had 105 Hong Kong dollars, which she changed to Kenyan shillings. So in relation to the bank would be buying the Hong Kong dollars from her. And therefore the exchange rate will be 9.74. So 1 Hong Kong dollar is 9.74. So we need to know how much she was given in Kenya shillings. So what about 105,000 Hong Kong dollars? We cross multiply, we have 105,000 times 9.74 divided by 1, and we obtain 1,022,700. Then we've been told that she spent 403,879, and so the balance was 1,022,700 minus 403,879, and so what was left was 618,821. Then we've been told that all this was changed into South African rand. So in relation to the bank would be selling the rands to her, and therefore the exchange rate would be 12.11. So for 1 rand she would get 12.11 shillings, and so we need to obtain what 618,821 would yield in South African rands. And so it's 618,821 times 1 divided by 12.11, since we are cross multiplying, and so she was left with 51,100 South African rands. Question 14. A small cone of height 8 centimeters is cut off from a bigger cone to leave a frustum of height 16 centimeters. If the volume of the smaller cone is 160 cubed centimeters, find the volume of the frustum. So we have a small cone of height 8 centimeters and a frustum of height 16 centimeters, and the volume of the smaller cone is 160 cubic centimeters. So a graphical representation of the frustum is that the height of the small cone is 8 centimeters and the height of the frustum is 16 centimeters. The volume of the small cone is 160 cubic centimeters, and to obtain the volume of a cone, the formula is a third pi r squared h. Since we have the value of the volume and the value of the height, so we are going to find the value of the radius. So we substitute, we have 160 is equals to a third. I've taken pi as 22/7 times r squared times 8. So 160 is equals to 176/21 r squared. To remain with r squared, we have to multiply by the reciprocal of 176/21. So we do times 21/176 on both sides, and we are left with r squared is equals to 210/11, since we've simplified both sides. But at that stage, you can also use your calculator to find the exact value of r squared. And now to obtain r, we have to square root both sides. So r is equals to the root of 210 divided by 11, and therefore r is 4.3693, which is approximately 4.37 centimeters to 2 decimal places. Since we haven't been told the number of decimal places to use, I'll use 2 decimal places. Then now, since we have obtained the radius of the small cone and we need to find the volume of the frustum, the next step is to find the radius of the bigger cone. And a graphical representation of the cross-sectional figure, we have the height of the big cone is 24 centimeters and the height of the small cone is 8 centimeters. We have obtained the radius 1, which is 4.37. So we need to obtain radius 2. And looking at this figure, we know that the small triangle is similar to the larger triangle. That is the cross-section of the big cone and the cross-section of the small cone. Therefore, the height of the big cone over the height of the small cone is similar to the radius of the big cone divided by the radius of the small cone. So we have 3 is equals to r2/4.37, which is the value we have obtained previously. So r2 is equals to 3 times 4.37, which is a cross multiplication. Therefore, R2 is 13.11 centimeters. Then since we now have the radius, we have the height, we can obtain the volume of the big cone. And the volume of the big cone, remember the formula of the volume of a cone is a third pi r squared h. So we have a third times our pi we've used as 22/7 times the radius, which we have obtained as 13.11 squared, times 24. Use your calculator, you obtain the value is 4,321.3557, which is approximately 4,321.36 cubic centimeters to 2 decimal places. Then we have the volume of the big cone, we have the volume of the small cone. Therefore, the volume of the first term will be the volume of the big cone minus the volume of the small cone, and that is 4,321.36 minus 160, which is equals to 4,161.36 cubic centimeters. Question 15. The production of milk in liters of 14 cows on a certain day was recorded as follows: 22, 26, 15, 19, 20, 16, 27, 15, 19, 22, 21, 20, 22, and 28. Determine part A, the median, part A, the mode, part B, the median. So the first step is to find the mode. We have the figures, the production in liters as 22, 26, 15, 19, 20, 16, 27, 15, 19, 22, 21, 20, 22, and 28. So in finding the mode, we know that the mode is the most repeated figure or number. So the first step is to create a table, a tally table. I'd already pre-populated my table. So you count, for example, 22, there are 3 instances, 26 is 1, and so on. So from this table, you can just pick the most repeated figure, and in our case, the most repeated figure is 22. Therefore, the mode is 22 liters. Then for part B, we are supposed to find the median. These are the figures. So in finding the median is the central number or the middle figure. And so the first step is to arrange the numbers in either ascending or descending order. So for us, we are going to do it in ascending order. We shall have 15, 15, 16, 19, 19, 20, 20, 21, 22, 22, 22, 26, 27, and 28. But one thing to note, the total number is 14. And the middle number is, so the 14 is an even number, then we don't have an exact middle number. So we'll take the number in the 7th position and the number in the 8th position, sum them up and find the average of the two. And in our case, the number in the 7th position is 20 and in the 8th position is 21. So it will be 20 plus 21 divided by 2, which is 20.5 liters. Supposing the total was, let's say, 13 or say 15. If it was 13, then the number in the 7th position would have been our median. Or if they were 15, the number in the 8th position would have been our median. But since the total is 14, so we have to take the number in the 7th position and in the 8th position, sum them up and find the average of the two. So that will be our median. Question 16. Given that log 4 is equals to 0.6021 and log 6 is equals to 0.7782, without using mathematical tables or a calculator, evaluate log 0.096. So we know that log 4 is 0.6021 and log 6 is 0.7782, and we need to find the value of log 0.096. So the first step is to rewrite 0.096, which can be written as 96 times 10 raised to power negative 3. And so log 0.096 is the same as log 96 times 10 raised to power negative 3. Then applying the rules of logarithms, if you have a number where you have a multiplication, it can be rewritten as an addition as log 96 plus log 10 raised to power negative 3. So the multiplication, you open the bracket, the multiplication becomes addition. Then 96 can be factorized into 4 times 4 times 6. So we have log 4 times 4 times 6 plus the power can come before the log. So we have negative 3 log 10. Then similar to what we have done in step 1, we shall have log 4 plus log 4 plus log 6 minus 3 log 10. And then since we know the values of log 4 and log 6, we shall have 0.6021 plus 0.6021 plus 0.7782, and log 10, if we have not been given the base of the logarithm, it is assumed it's log to base 10. So a number to its base, a logarithm of a number to its base is equals to 1. So we have 3 into 1. And so adding this up, you shall have negative 1.0176. So that is how you evaluate logarithms without a calculator or a mathematical table. In short, you just need to know the rules of logarithms that apply in different stages. And if you like this video, make sure you subscribe to crunch more KCSE revision questions.